And welcome to the Robert Christian Show live in Washington. I'm your host, Robert Christian. And you know what? We have a fun show today. We absolutely do. Let me turn that off. Thank you very, very much. We have a fun show today that we are going to start off with, and I am absolutely thrilled that we have Miss Coco Peru on the live phone line, the call-in line. And here is Miss Coco, and welcome, Miss Coco. We appreciate you.
Well, thank you for thinking of me. And we've planned this for a long time, and finally the day is here.
Well, you know what we did, and some people think that it is so super easy to get a hold of people, but really it's not. It's a fluke when things happen.
Well, I do a series out here in Los Angeles where I interview my icons, and it's so difficult not only to reach certain people, but also with scheduling. It's hard to nail people down because people are just so busy nowadays. So
I would absolutely agree with you. And I know the time is absolutely of the essence. Well, just before we went on the air, we were talking about tension tamer tea, and you have this thing about this tea. What is going on with this tea?
Well, I made a silly video that went viral, which was my quest to find tension tamer tea. And what had happened was, my mom drinks it as well. And she swears that it relaxes her. And we just happen to like this herbal tea that Celestial Seasoning puts out. And they pulled it from her shelves in her store, and she was really upset. And every time she would go into that store, she would ask for the manager and then ask them where the tension tamer tea was. And it was like 2 years later, and I'm like, Mom, let it go. But she couldn't find it anywhere. So finally she calls me one day and says, can you believe it? It's back on the shelves. I knew I would break that manager down. So I thought that was so funny, but what had happened was in the meantime they had pulled it from my shelves at Target where I used to buy it. And I just thought it would be funny to do a video of me looking for it. And I always thought there was something funny about saying Celestial Seasonings Tension Tamer Tea, and I put it in. It's been in my shows even before I did the video. It was a running gag in my show, so it just took off. And then I was sent over 100 boxes. Fans come see my show. They give me boxes of it. They ask me to sign boxes of it. So it just became this thing, and I'm very happy, and I'm sure Celestial Seasonings is happy too because they got a lot of free advertisement for. They sent me 6 boxes of tea.
Wow.
So I think for 6 boxes of tea, they made off pretty well.
So they still make it then?
Oh, yeah. It's just one of those things, they make a lot of teas, but I guess now you can pretty much find it on every shelf because I think my video actually increased its popularity.
That is insane. I know that there are a lot of people that do look up to you in the entertainment industry. A lot of gay and lesbian people around the world look up to you.
Well, I'm not sure in the entertainment industry people look up to me.
I think so.
I think people look up to me young. I'm so flattered when I get these emails. In fact, it reminds me, I've got 2 that I have to answer today. But people really pour their heart out to me that I inspire them, and I think what people are responding to in these videos, because those videos aren't even really what I do for the last 25 years. I mean, I write shows and they're monologues, and I work really hard to create shows that are honest, and I'm talking about my life, and they're funny, but they're touching, but I think what people are responding to in the videos that I've put out is that, especially young people, is that I'm walking around Kmart, clearly in a drag queen, not caring about what anybody thinks of me. I don't fit in. I'm under all this hideous fluorescent lighting. And I think young kids who are dealing with issues, even if it's not their own sexuality, because I have a lot of straight young girls that are fans of mine now, but they're dealing with a lot of heavy stuff just being a teenager. And I think they are inspired by someone who just goes out into the world and doesn't really care what anybody thinks of them.
You know, you have a story to tell, and a lot of times when people go to see shows, comic shows, or even a musical concert, that a lot of times that the artists themselves have a story, they have something that they want to share and that they want to say. Have you ever been put in a position, Ms. Coco, to be able to share your own testimony or your own story?
Well, that's what my live shows are. I mean, I tell autobiographical stories, and that's what I've been doing for a quarter of a century. So that's always been my what I think my art is. That I, in my early 20s, was seeing what was happening in New York City with the AIDS epidemic, with gay rights. It all came together for me, and I realized that I had a voice, and I had a say. And drag, when I decided to do drag, it really taught me that I not only got to create a character called Coco Peru, but in the process of creating Coco, I realized that, oh wow, I get to create me, my life. This is not something that just happens to us. We actually have a say in how we want our lives to go, and I found my voice that way, and I wanted to tell my story. And it wasn't that I needed to I always felt like my story was everybody's story. So it's never like, oh, just listen to my... It really matters to me that the audience is leaving feeling like they could relate to everything I said. Even a straight person. And that was one of the goals, was that by doing drag, I wanted the audience to see a drag queen on stage and then forget that I was a drag queen. And that what was important was the story. And that if we can relate to each other's stories, then what we're wearing or how people perceive us on the outside isn't really that important.
Well, I think that the way that people have perceived you has been absolutely phenomenal, because, you know, there isn't, I mean, I can look back at a lot of the Divine movies. Everybody that, you know, knows and remembers who Divine is, at least a lot of people do, and you know, looking at Divine and then looking at you, Miss Coco, I mean, it's almost night and day. But you are sort of, in a way, I guess, the Divine of the year 2000 and beyond.
Well, I think there's a lot of us out there. It just really depends on how you're responding to an artist. And you know, I know people that loved Divine, and I thought Divine was outrageous, and that for many people was, I guess, liberating to see someone that outrageous. And I feel like, on some degree, I do that for people as well now in a different sort of way.
Are you planning on doing any other movies, Broadway movie productions, or motion pictures in the next year or so?
Not that I know of. But no, I mean, that's the thing. You know, when I chose to do drag, I knew on some level that I was choosing a career that was going to be very, very limited. And I also knew that I was going to have to create my own work. But I kind of knew that as a gay guy anyway, because I could never hide even though I trained in the theater, I could never really get around the facts that I was gay. Like, I'm pretty gay, so I could never sort of just totally 100% become a character that wasn't, you know. So I always knew that I had limitations. And back when I started doing Coco, you know, there were not very many gay characters on television. That has all changed now. I feel like if I was starting my life over, I could probably have some sort of a career as an openly gay actor. But back then,
Go ahead.
It was different. So I was just going to say that doing movies or doing television, I mean, that sounds wonderful, but the reality is there isn't really a whole lot out there. And there's also a lot of other drag people or trans people looking to play those roles as well, besides me. And so we all are and I'm happy when other people get a role and I don't get it, because we all deserve to work. But that's why I feel blessed that I've done as much as I have, and I feel like I still get to do my stage shows, and people still want to come see me. So although I don't get to do movies or TV as much as I would like to, I still have to really look back and think, boy, I've been very, very lucky. I've been to Sundance twice. I've had 2 movies at Sundance. I'm in drag, so it's pretty amazing.
Well, what was it like to work on the set of Girls Will Be Girls? That has to be one of my favorite movies.
It's funny. I was just last night. For some reason, someone posted a video of me, and I clicked on it, and I saw another video of one of the Girls Will Be Girls short films that we made. And I looked at it, and I thought, how weird that it only has 80,000 views. But then I realized we made that so many years ago before. Anyway, so I watched it again, and I was laughing out loud, and I was remembering how much fun we had making not only Girls Will Be Girls, but the shorts, and we made Girls Will Be Girls 2. I so wish that had turned into a TV series. Because it is so much fun working with Jack Plotnick, who plays Evie, and Varla Jean, who's played by Jeffrey Roberson. And we all really are fans of each other's work, and we were all very, very professional on the set. So there was never any bitchiness. It was always like we were supporting each other. We knew that we all had to shine in order for the movie to work. So we all really supported each other's moments and never tried to steal a moment from another actor. And it was I have to say, a really good experience. The first couple of days were hard for me because I was very insecure, because I was always used to getting laughs, and suddenly I was playing the character that was kind of boring, and I thought, oh, God, I'm terrible in this. But then I just committed to playing it as real as I possibly could, and that the comedy was going to be in the fact that I was put upon, and I was really happy with the result.
Well, everybody, I think, has their preference, but by saying that, would you prefer being live on stage in front of a live audience, or would you prefer actually being in on the big screen?
Oh, well, I love that you can make a movie and then put it out there in the world, and it has a life of its own. I love that, and I love being on a movie set. As a kid watching movies, that's just so magical to actually be in one. So I would love to do more film, but I love, it's the typical thing that everybody says. There's an energy that happens in a theater with people that I need in my life. I need to have that connection with other human beings.
Now, would you ever work with, for an example, with John Waters?
If John Waters called and said he'd like to work with me, I think I'd say yes. Of course.
He is one fella that I would love to interview. I really would, because he goes back in LGBT history with a lot of the movies that he has done. From the Divine days, Edith Massey days, and now here we are now in 2015, and we have Miss Coco Peru on screen. You can watch the videos, the DVDs, and catch one of your shows, your live shows.
Yeah, absolutely, and I hope that you get to interview John Waters.
Oh, I think it would be absolutely just hysterical if I could do so. I mean, I've heard some horror stories and some really off the beaten path things about John, but that's where I would really flourish. I think I really would with talking to him about some of the stuff. So with you, Miss Coco, what makes Miss Coco do what she does?
Well, initially I was responding to having grown up in the Bronx and being very ashamed of who I was, and very Catholic, and experienced my first gay pride parade in New York City, and realized as I was riding the train back home to the Bronx that all that liberation I felt in that parade and all that freedom and support and sense of community that I felt was slowly